So, this Shabbos is Shabbos Mevolchim, the month of Adar, and it says, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha. When the month of Adar comes in, we have to increase in Simcha. Well, we always have to be Besimcha. What does it mean increase Besimcha? How do you increase it? You put on the volume. What do you do? What do you do to increase in Simcha? But really, there's a Mishnah that says, Akore et ha-Megillah lemafreya lo yatsa. Someone who reads the Megillah backwards, he doesn't read it in the right order. He reads chapter 5, then chapter 2, then chapter 7. He does not fulfill the mitzvah. Because the whole idea is you go through it in order. That's when it makes sense, the whole story. The Baal Shem Tov explains another explanation. Akoyres ha-Megillah lemafreya, someone who reads the Megillah lemafreya, as if it happened many, many years ago. Lo yotze, he did not fulfill the mitzvah. We have to feel now that this is the time now when it's happening to us now. We have to relive those times in our own life. So what is happiness? Is the opposite of simcha is atzvut. There's various words in the Torah for the word atzvut, but I just picked on three of them, and we'll go from the bottom up. Is the last one is when Yosef speaks to his brothers. He says, "V'atem al te'atzu." Don't be sad that you sold me, because look what happened to me. Yeah. In the second last one, when Yaakov's children came back from the field and they heard what happened to Dinah, the sister, they became sad. And the first one doesn't make sense at all. It says, and God saw what the man is doing, that they steal people's wives and they kill. It says God was sad. It gives a different translation. Is he grieved on the fact that he created man. So what does it mean, atzvut? What does it mean a person is sad? And what level of sadness are we talking about? This idea of sadness comes when a person feels small. He feels there is a nothing. Right? Like there was a young people in the shul, but the rabbi got very emotional, and the rabbi says, Rabbeinu Shalom, I'm a nothing. So the chazan says, the rabbi is a nothing. He also says, Rabbeinu Shalom, I'm a nothing. Yaakov the Shamish hears that the rabbi is a nothing, and the chazan is a nothing. So Rabbeinu Shalom, I'm also a nothing. So the chazan says to the rabbi, he thinks he can be a nothing. Me and you can be nothings, but who does he think? What right does he have to be nothing? So human nature is such that we want to feel that we make a difference. We want to make sure that we matter. Mm-hmm. And it's like a couple. Somebody calls up the parents, and he says, he says to his son, his adult son, your mother and I are getting divorced. He says, you better. So he says, please don't do anything. Please don't do anything. I'm coming over. I'll come. He hangs up the phone and says to his wife, guess what? Our son is coming over and he's paying for the trip. Right? So we have human nature. We want to matter. We want to make sure we make a difference. When the Rebbe had an accountant, was always, the Rebbe had a real accountant. Not like somebody told me the other day that his accountant is so religious, he keeps 2 sets of books, like 2 sets of dishes. He keeps 2 sets of books. That's how a good accountant. That's right. So when the Rebbe's accountant became elderly, his son took over. And one time, the Rebbe says to his son, go and ask your father this and this question. And the father was so happy that he still matters. The Rebbe still asks him for advice. Mm-hmm. The worst thing that can happen is a person should think that they are nothing, that they don't matter. As a matter of fact, there is not 2 people who are alike. It's not like becoming off a conveyor belt. They have now all the machinery, like when they shech chickens or whatever it is, the conveyor belt, when they make cars, right? Every car is the same.
We're all different.
But we are all different, right? God, we are handmade, handpicked by God. There wasn't a machine that produced us. They have different fingerprints. I always worried when I come to America, you have to put your fingers on this. So what happens if I have the same fingerprints as Bin Laden? How will I prove I'm not Bin Laden? I have a beard, and my fingerprints match. But there isn't such a thing. Identical twins. When a child is born, people say, "Wow, who does he look like? The father or the mother?" Right? He looks like himself, because that's what he looks like. Himself.
Exactly.
He's a creature for himself, and there's nobody else like him, and never will there be anybody like him. And I read somewhere they also said that the fingernails of the toes of the people, each person is unique. You know it? Every person has unique fingernails. I never checked anybody's fingernails, but that's the idea. So basically, sadness means that I feel like I don't belong. There's nothing I can do anymore. I'm not worth anything. And the question is, what makes a person? I mean, we're looking today, the amount of people who are in depression, if you go in statistics, in the developed countries,
it's terrible.
It's a plague.
It's
mind-boggling.
Pandemic,
yeah. People are depressed. The people in Afghanistan have nothing to eat. They're okay, but they are depressed.
That's true.
It's true.
So the idea is that today we have to focus how we matter. What difference we make? Why are we here? Why did Hashem give me another day to live? There's something He wants me to do. Otherwise, He would press delete and finish.
Press delete.
So that is the old story of Purim. Teaches us how to be besimcha, which means how to take away the feeling of being sad. When does a person feel sad? When the expectations is not met. For example, here the last pasuk, the brothers of Yosef, he tells them, now, I'm your brother, you sold me. And all of a sudden, can you imagine what happened to them? They feel that this person, who they sold as a slave, they put him down in the pit. They are now in his hands, he can kill them. They are nothing now. That's called teotzvot. Then there is the other one where it says thereby when Yaakov's children came into Israel and they told that we are now safe. We finished 22 years in Lavan's house. We are now safe in the Holy Land. And the first day they're going out, they find out Dinah was kidnapped. So they got sad, said we have no safe place to go. And when it comes to explaining why Hashem feels sad, I can't explain it, but somebody tried to explain it as a rabbi that this year I have to give credit where credit is due. Although somebody once told me, Rabbi, I'm giving you a lot of credit, I said, I'll take cash. When I go walking, today we can do the mitzvah of Rechte Chavaderech to study Torah while you go on the way. So I listened to this shiur, I listened to Rabbi Ashkenazi, one of the famous speakers in Israel, and I was very inspired. I feel that I have to share it. Now, when you read the Megillah, there's a few strange things about it. Number one is that if you miss one word of the Megillah, you have not fulfilled the mitzvah. Shabbos, you can hear the Torah and you miss a word or two, it's okay.
Okay.
But if the person mispronounces a word, yes.
Yeah, you have to fix it. But if you didn't, there's no such a law says that if you didn't hear one person because some kid was making noise, that you have to hear the Parshat all over again. By the Megillah, it says if you miss one word, even the word Aman or whatever the word is, you are not Yoitzer. That's why people have read the Megillah a bit from the original, so they can read it quietly, so they can also hear what he's saying. And you think about it, the story starts, I wouldn't let children read the story of Megillah Esther. It's quite a scary story and not so, it's not age appropriate. Right? The first chapter talks about Achashverosh, the third year of his kingdom. He makes a big feast. And why is it the third year? The rabbis tell us that Achashverosh was in charge of the horses. Vashti was the daughter of Belshazzar, and she fell in love with him, and that's why he became king. And it took him 3 years to get rid of all the people who were against him. And now he makes a feast. Why is it important for me to know that he had a feast? Right? And can you imagine in real time? Right? Let's pause. On the third, he makes a feast, and then he asks Vashti to come. She doesn't come, and he kills her. Can you imagine? You come to shul the next morning, and you tell people, you know what's news? The king went with sugar. He got drunk, and he killed his wife. And the whole shul is going crazy. What happened?
And I'm looking for a new one.
And I read the first chapter. He killed his wife. Who cares? You know, there was a guy once who was a very sworn Democrat. All his life he voted Democrat. He became 95 years old. He's about to die. He says to his children, can you please bring me quickly an application form? I want to become a Republican. They said, why? He said, I don't want a Democrat to die. Let the Republican die. And
I did not understand why are we not
Purim
allowed to
happened in
use
Iraq?
word from the Megillah?
we're coming to it.
Purim happens in Iraq. It's not happening in Israel.
In Iran, Mordechai and Esther are buried in Iran today. We know where they're buried. Yeah.
Not in Israel.
So the first chapter, the Rebbe says the whole idea of Purim is to teach us about life. Our whole life is in the story of Purim. And therefore, the Baal Shem Tov says you can't read it like it's an old story. Right? Purim, the story of the Megillah is like a puzzle. Right? You can have a puzzle of 1,000 pieces, and if you miss 2 pieces, the puzzle is not there. So in real time, in real life, everybody said, oh, he killed Vashti. We have an old chapter in the Megillah. He killed her. Second chapter, he's going to find a new wife. Mm-hmm. And for 4 years, he's looking for a wife. And it describes the Megillah, how much oil she had to put in and how much perfume she had to put in. And the story in the shul, the guy, there's always a storyteller in shul who comes and tells you the news. And he says the king is Meshuggah. For 4 years, he's looking for a wife. And they bring the most beautiful woman in all of his kingdom. And he's not happy. Crazy. Doesn't make sense. And we read the whole story in details.
Was it 4 years, was it?
4 years. So then, one day, this storyteller comes into shul in real life. He says, guess what? The king found someone. But you know what? He found someone, one of our women, was taken to the house of the king. What a tragedy it is. A Jewish woman should be taken to the palace. It's a terrible thing. Right? So in real life, that sounds like a tragedy. That's the way it sounds. Because when we live through a situation, we cannot see the end of God in that. Maybe if we are lucky, years later, somebody asks me, how was your day? I said, I don't know, ask me in 20 years' time. Some days I thought it was my best days, ended up my worst days. And sometimes my worst days ended up being my best days. 20 years, put in your diary, call me up, and I'll tell you. And I look a few psukim in the Megillah that really got me shocked. Achashverosh makes, and it's written in big detail, Achashverosh passed a law that in each household, the man has to be the one who's liot kol ish sorev betor the man has to rule the house. And he made it a law, and the Megillah says the story, he sent it to all his kingdoms that everybody should not know, should know now. The Gemara makes fun of him, but have you ever heard somebody, the man who is in charge of the house?
No.
And what will the law help?
Not in my house.
No, yeah, there's a story once, there was a big car accident, about 50 people died at the same time. And they came up there to heaven, and the angel decides he has to do it quickly, because there's a traffic here. So he says 2 lines. I want in this line on the right side, everybody who he was actually, that their wives were in charge. And on the left side, those who are like the Megillah, the men were in charge. So 49 went to the side where the woman was in charge. And on the other side, there's one little man. He didn't look like he was a big knacker. And somebody asked him, how did you manage to be in charge? He says, I don't know. My wife told me, stand right here. So somebody comes, this pasuk doesn't make sense. And if you miss these words, that Achashverosh made a gzera, that all that the men have to be in charge, you're not yet to the story. And so much so that there's an argument in the Gemara. Where do you have to start reading the Megillah? Let's say you're in a rush. Is there a shorter version? Can we make it shorter? So there's actually 4 opinions. One opinion says you can skip the first chapter with Vashti. The second opinion says skip even the second chapter and start from Mordechai. The other opinion, third opinion, says start from chapter 5, start talking about the miracle. And Rabbi Meir says you have to read every single word, and that's the way the halacha is.
What did the Rabbi say?
That's the halacha. Rabbi Meir, the person like Rabbi Meir, who said you have to hear every single word.
Right.
So what's going on? And furthermore, people come to Mordechai's house. They said, we heard there's a woman here. We want to collect her. Why is he allowing her to go? He couldn't hide her. He couldn't tell her run away somewhere. He says, please, take her. They say, girls, I'm blessed with 9 daughters. You have 9 daughters, you have a big electricity bill. Why? Because you have to be up at night waiting till they come back. So why are they allowed to go?
We know why.
Because of this pasuk, there was a law that the man has to be in charge. And therefore he could not say, I don't know where she is. He cannot say, she went shopping. There's no choice. And the Gemara says, and it takes Esther, and this guy comes to the shul the next day, he says, guess what? After 4 years, he finally found Esther. There's a opinion in the Gemara, she wasn't even so beautiful. She was elderly, and and he took Esther. And the people in real life, it sounds one tragedy after another. But when you go through the entire Megillah in order, in hindsight, you see how every difficulty, every challenge was a preparation for what's good to come.
But didn't Mordechai know that by Esther going there, that eventually she would be able to save the Jewish people?
There was no decree there. The decree came on the 3rd year he killed Vashti. It took him 4 years to marry Esther, so that's 7. And there's another 5 years till the decree of Haman came about. Whole story took 12 years.
Jeez.
So she's taken, but they can see when we read it back, Purim teaches us that don't be sad. Don't think that God forgot about you. Don't think that I don't matter. Because every single chapter of your life is a mission for you and only for you. And that's what we learn from the story of Purim. And it's such a yontiv. It says you have to be so happy on Purim, like you have to get drunk. I mean, the Torah, it says three Chagim, Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot. You're happy. Why? Because it's one yontiv is when you harvest, and one is when a Jew makes a few dollars, he's happy. But the Purim, they said the happiness of Purim is to break all barriers.
Well, you know tonight with Rabbi Herzog, the guy from the Jewish agency, he spoke at the end, and he's lost like 16 members of his family over the last 40 years.
Wow.
Starting with the Yom Kippur War. And he said, because he was talking to the 15 bereaved families, And he said you can go there's one way, which is because of the loss you've experienced, that you just get into depression and you can't get out of it. And the other way is, like, his brother died in 1984 in Lebanon, I think, and he just bled to death. And he feels guilty that he wasn't able to help him. So the end result was...
We will have a shira with you. Now we have a shira.
Hang on, I'll just finish. So
Don't hang up. It's again for the steak, you know.
anyway, so the end result is that what he's saying,
Both perfect.
in the honour of your relatives, you can be happy.